We got to meet the Bears' new coaching staff yesterday. Now we want you to meet them as well. Got a fun show lined up on this Friday. CHGO Bears starts right now. Welcome into the CHGO Bears Podcast. As we get rolling, well, really, we're bringing an end to the week here. And finally getting into draft week next week. I cannot wait to finally get there. Adam Hogan, Mark Carman with you on this Friday. Greg Braggs is not with us. He is once again, if you've missed it, over the last 2 years, pulled off the biggest scam in the history of Chicago sports media, where he's getting paid to just go drink in the bleachers at the Cubs game, and that's his job. And we congratulate him for that because it's awesome, and that's where he is today, the 120 Club. And you should be at the 120 Club too, but if for some reason you're not, hopefully you're watching the show with us. Hi, Carm.
Adam, good to see you, and congrats to Greg. You forgot smoking cigars, which he proudly posted on Twitter, wearing the 120 Club shirt, just, having a stogie, drinking a whiskey, telling us, hey, if you guys want to come out here all day long and do this, I'll do the Bears podcast. And I said, okay.
Yeah. Sounds great.
Yeah. But, Greg's going to be working hard today. He'll be, he's going to be hobnobbing with all the people, and then he'll be on the show, and it's going to be a really long day for him. Our sympathies go out. You will get to see Greg, though, in person if you'd like to at our draft party.
Amazingly. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, great day to see Greg is next Thursday and or Friday, and Hoge and Corey Wooten and Lance Briggs and all your fellow Bears fans, yours truly as well, of course. April 24th, 25th, both nights, 6 to 10 p.m., 115 Bourbon Street. Tickets are available, but they're also going fast. And yes, it is official, Hoge. There will be a Carmonica special performance on both draft nights, or one of the draft nights, but the Carmonica will be there. So if you need yet another reason, I might go solo stage at about 10:15 for those who stay late night and just bust out my best Carmonica of all time. What do you think?
Once again, we're trying to get people to come to this event. We'd like people to buy tickets, so please ignore everything Carm just said and go visit allchgo.com/events.
Happy birthday to Carm Sweet Bippy, already in the chat announcing his birthday. Happy birthday to you. Way to go, Sweet
By the way,
Bippy.
Amazingly popping up on my Twitter feed while we were talking about that is a picture of Greg Braggs Jr. and Cody Del Mendo with signs of a 13-year-old that say, extend to Kyle Tucker, please. And there is a stogie in his mouth. So You called that.
Oh yeah, no, I saw one of the pics already. I mean, the guy's been smoking cigars since 9 a.m. It's a Jordan-esque thing. I give him credit. I mean, Mike loves a cigar. Greg loves a cigar. And,
there it is. Yeah.
I mean, that's tough work right there. He probably spent at least 12 minutes on that weird sign.
Yeah. The X's. I don't know what's going on with the X, but the X's and the Y. There's a couple letters in there that we need to address. It looks like he ran out of room on the D. That's what she said.
Do you think that he realized after the E and the X that he didn't have enough room for the 10, so he had to slow it down, or was that on purpose? Because that is how I would write a check back in the day, all these things. But I'm wondering if that's, Greg he's a calculated guy, so maybe he did that. Steven, you might know this better. Do you think that was on purpose?
It was an accident. Yeah, he ran out of space and he had to just force it in there.
Okay. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. The Cody's please sign is like perfect. It's great job by Cody. And yes, are we jealous? 100%. And yes, are we going to keep this bit going every Friday? We're sitting here doing this awesome show for you guys while he's at the Cubs game. Yes, we are. It's going to continue. But mostly we're happy to be here with you because we get to talk about Bears. And yesterday was actually a really cool day at Halas Hall. The shout out to the Bears, did something a little different, and we've had assistant coach availability before, but this was different. Earlier, I feel like it's earlier than normal with the new staff. Sit down situation where there's a bunch of tables set up where we can kind of actually sit down over an extended period of time, and get to know each one of these guys of Ben Johnson's coaching staff. And it was very insightful. Plus they had the press conferences, if you missed them, of the coordinators, plus Antwaan Randle, which another, it was cool. They put Antwaan Randle up at the podium as well, because he does have that associate head coach title, in addition to his wide receiver responsibilities. But yeah, we got a bunch of clips here. I had a chance to sit in there and kind of meet these guys, so I wanted to share a lot of this stuff with you. But my overall takeaway, Carm, is, I'm a big first impressions guy. Knocking it out of the park. I'll expand on that reasoning as we get through this show. But I mean, there's just really very few red flags. And in fact, one of the red flags I had early on, I've completely flipped on too, which I'll explain.
Well, I can't wait to hear all of this, Adam. And I got to say, going through it yesterday with everything that you put in there, I think I like all the coaches right now. They seem all lovely and good energy, logical statements, feel like they are well in command of their roles, their jobs, all the things. But I have fallen in love. I am all in on Antwaan Randle. His energy, his connection to Chicago, his grandmother's over here and his uncle's over there and his cousins over here, and they're all coming over to the house. And Thornton High School, Indiana, Big Ten. Shout out, by the way, to the Big Ten universities. Good work over there. We won't go into depth in that, but I like what they're doing. Antwaan Randle was awesome. He was awesome. So they got some good energy around there, Hoge. I mean, that's who I fell in love with yesterday the most. But Declan Doyle was solid. Yeah, we'll get to it. I got it.
I like what I've heard from Declan Doyle so far.
Yeah.
And trust me, I was among the people that was like, hand up, I don't know Declan Doyle. It was a surprising hire. 29 years old, pretty young to make an offensive coordinator. But I think when you sort of understand some of the reputation he's had around the league, and really, I think the biggest thing is we really learned yesterday why he's here. So are you going to derail this and get to the super chat before I tee up? Go ahead.
Well, it is breaking news. Anytime somebody becomes a diehard on the show, that's breaking. So Anthony Fistry spent 10 away. He just became a diehard, Hoge. You know why?
Mm-hmm.
Because this guy is elite. Right before the draft, he's not waiting to do it in the middle of June. He's doing it right before the Bears set the bar with the 10th pick. So Fistry has gone fishing, and he's come up with the big fish, and that is CHGO. And actually, he is our big fish, and that's why, 40 years old out of Round Lake, got a trade idea, trade number 10, next year's first and third to move up to 5 and draft Ashton. We're not going to do all that, Fistry. We don't have to go that fishing. We're all we're going to do is trade 39 or 41. Stephen Nicholas, you said that was fine, and actually we're going up to number 3, but we'll talk about that deeper. But I like the way you're fishing around, and you are our favorite fish. And I'm going to go have some salmon tonight in your honor. Thank you, Anthony Fistry, for your $10. Apologize for the derailment. Back to you, Hoge.
All right, back to the show. CHGO Bears Podcast, where we're talking about Declan Doyle. Here's a clip from him yesterday, because I think we really figured out, if you're among those like myself that's been like, okay, but why exactly is he here? Why was this the hire and I think we learned yesterday from a lot of these coaches, they all feel the same way. Richard Hightower said it himself. Brent Johnson's been the hot coaching candidate the last 3 years. He could have hired anybody. So we're fortunate to be here. We're grateful to be here. And yet it's like, okay, but this 29-year-old offensive coordinator who's just tight ends coach in Denver, that seemed like a little bit of a surprise hire. I think we're learning why. And I want you to hear this exchange with Declan Doyle. It starts with how they're building the offense right now, but then he starts to shift into, after a follow-up question, about the connection with Sean Payton. I found it very interesting. Here's Declan Doyle.
So I'm sorry if this is repetitive at all, but just wanted to get your impressions of the staff kind of coming together, how you guys are gelling. Obviously, a wide mix of experience and former players and just sort of your experience. So just curious how it's all coming together.
I think it's going great. I think it starts at the top with Ben. I think he's done a really good job of finding people that he has respect for, people that he feels like are going to add to the vision for where we want to take this. But it's been great. He's set a standard and he's held us to that standard. Obviously, a lot of different experience from everybody, in the offensive staff as well as throughout the building, and really doing a good job of trying to narrow down. Okay, we all have this experience, but what do the 2025 Bears look like? And trying to hone in on that. But it's been awesome.
What was the process like of trying to start to build this thing before you kind of even knew who all the players who were going to be involved?
Yeah.
As soon as you start to make those tweaks, especially on the offensive line, I'm sure that kind of helped the process speed up.
I think we didn't, we stripped it all down to, Ben talked about going to the bare bones, like, all right, what is going to be, how are we going to speak? What's the language we're going to use, and getting everybody on the same page as far as that goes from an offensive standpoint. I still don't think it's going to be a long time before we finalize, all right, this is exactly what the scheme will look like in game one. We really want to just lay the foundation, introduce these guys to a lot of scheme, see what they can handle. We want it to be stressful early, and then from there we're going to shape it to fit our players the best. Because to your point, when the players aren't in here, it's not like you can just say, hey, we're going to get up and run wide zone, and that's what we're going to be if your guys aren't good at running that. I don't think that's good coaching. So it's constantly evolving. Ben is very much into being able to morph the offense to fit the player, and that's really the plan here moving forward.
Declan, as you lay that foundation and as you get to know Ben, what are the areas where you say, oh, wow, this is where we're really aligned philosophically? And then what are some areas where you think, oh, here's where I can add my voice, here's where maybe I can put a little bit of my fingerprints on this stuff?
Yeah, I think we're very aligned philosophically just from the rip. I think that's what led to our relationship being as close as it was. It's really the reason that I'm here. So we see the game very, very similarly. The biggest thing in the first 3 months here has been making sure that, from a language standpoint, I'm communicating that to him. Anything that we see a little bit differently, maybe making the case for, hey, we did it differently here. How do we want to do it moving forward? I have experience in Sean's system, which really that's the genesis of his stuff in Detroit, was some of the New Orleans stuff mixed with some of the things that he had done in Miami. And so the genesis point is really very similar for both of us, and that's really why both of us think about the game in a similar way.
So you hear there from Declan Doyle that is, he said himself, like, why he believes he's here. So his experience with Sean Payton, both in New Orleans, because he was originally hired from Iowa to New Orleans, then went to Denver with Sean Payton. And what we're learning here, Carm, is, and he said it right there, a lot of Ben Johnson stuff, even though he didn't coach under under Sean Payton, is Sean Payton stuff, as the word stuff, as Declan Doyle used it. And so I think that also explains not only why Declan Doyle's here, but also why Dan Roushar, the offensive line coach, is here as well, because he was where? In New Orleans with Sean Payton.
Yeah, we're getting some things adding well together and making sense, but like kind of an overarching takeaway for me just listening to Declan, because he's a young guy. This guy's still in his 20s, albeit he's late 20s, sort of like Adam Hoge, who's in his late 30s. Same thing. Happy birthday to Hoge. Great birthday week. Dude, he has a presence to him. He has I would call it a powerful, calm, in control demeanor, which it just jumps off the page why Ben would want this guy on his staff. He certainly seems like he's got the brain power, and he's not I see him bringing a sense of just solidness, calmness to the room for Ben. So his first press conference, the reason I'm bringing this up partly is because his first press conference, I thought he was a little bit off. And here, as he settled in and sort of become a little, been here for a second and get maybe used to being in front of the media a little bit more, I would say he's like starting to take off as far as delivering the message.
Yeah, and he held it. That was from our round table discussion, but he did hold a press conference yesterday too, where he was actually up in front of, it's a little bit more of an intimidating setting at the podium with the lights and everything.
And as far as just like mere presence and like the power of delivering it in the press conference, he had it. It was good, which matters to me at least, because you're going to have to do it in front of the team, man. Some of these guys are older than you. How are you going to come across? Are they going to believe you? Are they going to trust you? And I think he's going to come across as, oh, this dude knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was encouraged there. I want to get a little bit deeper on the New Orleans connection, Dan Roushar next. But first, summer will be here before you know it. Get a little bit of a taste of it today, just a little bit. And we're all starving for it, but you want to make sure now's the time. It's April 18th here, guys. Is your home's air conditioning up for the challenge? Went through this a couple years ago. Kind of knew right around this time. Forgot. Got to get that thing. Got to get a new one. And this is where you're going to call Four Seasons, because Four Seasons Heating and Cooling has been serving Chicagoland for over 50 years. And now is the time to get your air conditioning checked out. Four Seasons experts are ready to help you with AC installation, maintenance, and repair. 2024 was officially Chicago's hottest year on record. The heat index even reached 114 degrees last summer at O'Hare. And Four Seasons expert technicians, they are going to ensure that you always receive reliable service. Four Seasons doesn't charge more for service during nights, weekends, and holidays. That's important. So right now, their AC tune-up special is just $89.95 and includes a 1-year no breakdown guarantee. So you get that peace of mind too. Your trusted local experts are Four Seasons Heating and Cooling. Visit fourseasonsheatingcooling.com for all their special offers and money-saving coupons. That's fourseasonsheatingcooling.com.
And shout out to our friends at Empire Today. Just like your favorite team needs the home field advantage, like having Greg Braggs in the bleachers hanging out for you, that's what you need at home. How about the home floor advantage? Empire Today wants to give you that with their flooring experts, dedicated flooring professionals who focus on flooring every single day. Empire Today lives and breathes the flooring, so you're going to be comfortable with your guy, your gal, whoever's coming out to your home every step of the way. It's a whole different ball game. Pick the right flooring and the right colors for your space. See how it looks with your furniture, your house. Get precise measurements taken, all your questions answered, no surprises. Do it with Empire Today. Schedule yourself a free in-home estimate and do it today, because some things are just better at home. CHGO listeners, you get $350 off, the $350 discount when you use the promo code CHGO. That's right, $350 off with the code CHGO. Restrictions apply. Visit Empire Today/CHGO for full details.
All right, got to hear from Declan Doyle. We're going to go to the offensive line coach next. I enjoyed talking to Dan Roushar, who is just, this is a theme I noticed yesterday, Carm. All of these guys are pretty direct and matter of fact. So is Ben Johnson. I just like it. They're just, you're asking me a question about arm length? Okay, so you're asking me about Will Campbell? Let's talk about Will Campbell. Just like Ben Johnson did with Tyler Warren and in Florida a couple weeks ago. It's just really refreshing. So I thought Dan Roushar was willing to answer direct questions with direct answers. And one thing I wanted to know, especially coming from New Orleans, because I know this was a thing kind of going back there to the Saints, and we've seen this already with what the Bears have done on their offensive line. They've solidified the inside, and now the questions are more on the outside. So I asked them, some offensive line coaches, they like to build inside out. Others like to build outside in. Which philosophy do you subscribe to?
I think it's inside out. I think that's the shortest, most direct path to the quarterback. You begin there. It's your ability to run the football internally. So center and guard play is obviously valued. But we also recognize that if we're deficient on the outside at the tackle positions, we're not as strong as we have to be. You can help tackles a little bit more than you can help inside play with some of your things that you do in your protections. But at the end of the day, we would like to be solid across the board, actually elite across the board, all 5 guys.
With that in mind, it's safe to say the amount of experience that's been added on the inside of this line over the last month and a half or so. In what ways can that specifically really help a young quarterback?
Well, think about it. Right now, you give the guy the ability to step into the pocket, not out of the pocket. If it's not coming at me directly, and we dealt with this with Drew in New Orleans, very similar in stature with Caleb. The ability to step up, see the field, get the ball out, that's valued. And if I've got people to step away from or move because of penetration, edges, that becomes even more challenging for any quarterback.
What are some of the biggest coaching points to create?
So, Carm, I want to get your reaction to this. By the way, I have a whole newsletter that came out this morning for CHGO diehards, and a lot of it was sort of on this topic, so you can check that out for a little bit more. But just, hearing that, him talking about Drew Brees and just the idea of, solidifying that area in front of him so that Caleb, who's not the tallest quarterback, obviously, can just step up and complete a pass.
Yeah, I thought it was super interesting. And look, Drew Brees, Hoge, how many yards did he throw for in his career? I believe the number is, what was that, 80,000 yards, something like that?
I think it was roughly 1 billion.
Yeah, 80,358. I actually looked it up. And Drew Brees listed at 6 feet. Caleb's listed at 6'1". I loved that he brought that up because Caleb's size doesn't get talked about a whole lot. He's not a big quarterback. He's on the small end. So how do you set a guy like that up for success? Well, we did it pretty well for Drew Brees, Hall of Famer in New Orleans. And yes, the middle matters. So, it was, when you ask the question, it's like, well, the middle, yeah. Oh, by the way, the outside matters too, and we want them to all be good or elite. But the Brees part of that was the most interesting thing because he's obviously confident that they can protect and set up Caleb for success at 6'1" when they did it so well for Drew. I liked that a lot.
So I walked over and Dennis Allen was also, had a table set up. So Bears defensive coordinator. Now he's on the other side of the ball, but also came from New Orleans. And I asked him, basically, I even referenced what Coach Roushar just said to him. And he was like, well, the most important real estate on the field is between the guards and the 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage there. And so from their defensive philosophy, it's the same thing. Like, get into that space, dominate that space. And he said, whichever team usually wins that space, so between the guards and 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage, typically wins the game. I just thought that was a very simplistic but important way of thinking about football. And I think it's important. Part of the reason why I'm stressing this right now is that I feel like this is important to think about both on offense and defense with the Chicago Bears team. They seem to be very aligned on this idea of, dude, the trenches are going to matter. We've been talking about being trench drunk on the show for months, and it seems to be the philosophy that the Bears are subscribing to here. It's why Grady Jarrett's here. It's why the Bears, I think, on defense with Dennis Allen are going to be playing more man defense because they're going to be trying to dominate that real estate that Dennis Allen talked about. That's going to end up putting more stress on the back end of the secondary.
I mean, we're doing some solid football 101 for you on a Friday, April 18th. Right. The interior of the defensive line and the offensive line matters. Now, it seems a little bit ridiculous to even talk about it, but the fact of the matter is that they have not prioritized or have not been good at it, however you want to put it, the last couple of years. It's been a major problem. I mean, we've seen centers roll the ball back to the quarterback. We've seen minimal pressure up front. We've seen Andrew Billings come in here and be a godsend because he can actually play. So hopefully Grady Jarrett will be that too. But yeah, the Bears have been losing that space for years now, which is why they've averaged 5 wins a season for the last 3 years.
All right, I just saw Beauchamp's comment on there about how, hearing from Declan Doyle, it sounded like he was just like Ben Johnson. That theme continues here, and that's something I want to talk about because both you're going to hear it from JT Barrett a little bit, the new quarterbacks coach, and then Eric Bieniemy as well before we get out of here. But let's go to JT Barrett. Now, JT Barrett, who was a little bit more soft-spoken than some of these other coaches we talked to yesterday, but one of the things I wanted to ask him about, a big reason why he's here, is JT Barrett, who I think most people remember from Ohio State, has always had this reputation of being a pretty good leader, team captain type guy. I don't mean it as an insult at all, but overachiever kind of at Ohio State, where if you remember those days when he was playing there, like he really wasn't supposed to be the starter. Even after he had success, they're like, well, we got more highly touted guys here that should be taking over. And, all he did was play well. And then he, basically had a cup of coffee in the league as a player, but there's a reason why he's a coach now. And he's in a very important one because he's the Bears' new quarterbacks coach. So he's going to be the guy hands-on with Caleb Williams on a daily basis. And I asked him about just his own makeup and being considered a leader. And he told this story from high school that I thought was pretty interesting.
Leadership, part of it. I'd probably say I credit that to going back to my high school coach. I remember vividly where we had a practice. It was during the school day, but it was a football period. And I remember we didn't practice well, and I was very upset. And I'm in there talking to my head coach at high school at the time. And I'm just kind of venting, getting it out. And he stops me, and he's like, well, why did you say that? And I look at him like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm clearly upset of why we didn't practice well. So like, what do you mean? And he sits there and he looks at me. He's like, well, why did you say it like that? And I was just like, I sat there and processed it, and I still didn't understand. But he was like, hey, there's a way to say things and get things across to people. So with that, you have to be mindful in the words you use, because it then will carry a connotation for people to how that comes across, right? So with that, I was really kind of framed my thoughts of how I want to communicate to people, being a leader, making sure that I'm mindful, letting them know how much I care, not just about the operation, what we're trying to do, but also them as a person, so they could feel that and they'll be willing to do that much more for you when they feel like you care. So I think it started off at a very young age, fortunately, where I had that conversation with my coach as far as how you communicate with people and how much that matters in order for them to be able to, follow you and be able to lead them.
Who was that coach? What was his name?
His name, Jim Garfield.
Carm, reaction?
I think the word is love. That is the. Look. He doesn't have to take you back to high school and give you that moment in time. That's a cool little reveal by him. And it also just, for all of us who've had moments in time where some mentor has said something to us where it really resonated and you can bring it back and reflect upon it. I like that he went into the deep way back machine in his formative years, learning that his words matter. And now, here's a guy who's had enormous success at Ohio State, and here he is now with a big time position, and it's going to have a huge impact you would think, or hopefully on Caleb. So just seemed like grounded, well spoken, interesting dude who's given you a little bit of just in what words matter and how to deliver them, which is important because you have to figure out how do you reach guys. It's a big part of his job.
Absolutely. And let's go to another. So JT Barrett came over from Detroit with Ben Johnson. There was a little bit more in there. We ended up shortening that a little bit but sort of the same theme. A lot of talk about how they view accountability the same. The way they push the players, how the coaches need to be excellent. You're going to hear a little bit more of that too, if they expect the players to be excellent. There's this higher standard, dude. I'm just telling you, I've been through this before. There's a higher standard right now with this coaching staff that I can just feel. I was talking to Jeff Joniak about this too a little bit yesterday after we got done talking to these guys. And it's just like, some of it's just a gut feeling, Carm. Like just the instincts here are they feel right. I'm going to give you another one here before we take our next break, though. Let's go to Steven. Let's go to Antwaan Randle L next here, because he's Carm, you brought him up at the beginning of the show. I think he's one of these guys that a lot of fans are excited is here. He has this associate head coach role here. And this is, I think Courtney was asking most of these questions here with Antwaan Randle, but I think he gives you a good idea of why he and Ben Johnson jive so well.
Declan said that Ben has a chip on his shoulder. How does that present itself?
Ben always has a chip on his shoulder.
How come?
Because in Ben's mind, and I shouldn't say it's just his mind, but you're the next team on the schedule, and you think you can beat us. And that's the mindset that you have to have, and that's the mindset I think we all take into it as it relates to, like, whoever's on the schedule. Like, they said it, we got to go play this game, we got to go win, and how do we go about it? So I think that's part of that. That's the chip. I think part of it, he's been out of the game and then back in the game, so he knew that time in terms of when he was out, like, I ain't going back to that, you know. So in the midst of that, like, not just how I keep my job, how do I keep my job, but how do I thrive in my job? And that's part of the chip as well.
Why follow him here for you? Like, it seems like obviously you guys have similar energy.
Yeah. The relationship is good. And then I think we're about some of the, I shouldn't say think, I know we're about some of the same things. And I think some of that I mentioned in there, just in terms of, like, what we expect, the detail in our offense, the detail that should take place on defense, like the way it should look. And it's not going to always be perfect, but even with our offense and with different minds that we have in our coaching staff and in that room, like, some things will change, but the core is the core. And when you know you've won in a certain way, like, how do we keep that intact? But, man, we still got to be able to use the other minds that's in the room as well.
Do you remember when he was installing the stumble bum play in the week leading into this game? Like, what that was like when he showed you, like, hey, I saw this in the Green Bay game, we're going to throw it into our playbook that week?
I do remember it, and it was almost – he installed it, but I can't remember somebody – I think it was somebody else who also saw it, and it was like, man, we got to put it – and Ben, as always, he'll put it in – you can't put anything past us in terms of what we put in, because if it looks like it's a possibility to do it, we're gonna try to do it. So I just remember, like, we got to sell it to our guys, like, this is a fumble, like, we got to, like, really sell it, and sure enough, our guys were able to do it, and that's the way we taught it, and it just worked out, and we were all excited about doing it.
Yeah.
And worked on it over and over again, and it showed up for us on the field.
What was that like on the sideline when it shows up and it works?
Everybody was it was big, because, again, we knew, like, this is, if we get them to do it right,
yeah,
it's gonna be it'll sail and it'll be over with. So when it happened, it was a celebration for sure. So the high five and the hugging that took place, and we couldn't even hear about us going for two or going for one on the next play, because we were still talking about the Stumble Bumble before.
Stumble Bumble,
yeah. No, and you saw the excitement on that sideline that's been shared all over the internet. But you could feel the why they get along, why they have the same values, why he came over here with Ben Johnson.
So I know that you guys asked great questions yesterday, but I think one you left off the table in that interaction.
Well, time out. I mean, we basically just hijacked Courtney Cronin's interview there, so I think she's the one who left it out.
That's true. Courtney messed up. I'll tell her the next time I see her.
Courtney co-hosted Hoge and John's yesterday.
Co-hosted?
Yeah, John's on vacation, so we replaced him.
Oh, that's a big time move right there. That guy Adam John's good at his job. I like that guy. Courtney too. But so my point is this. Why'd you use the stumble bum on the Bears? Shouldn't you have saved that for when you really needed it? You didn't need.
Ben's already answered that question.
What'd he say? I don't remember that.
We knew it would work against the Bears, so we used it.
No, you can't. No, don't just let. You didn't need to use that against low-hanging fruit. Do it against the NFL's best defense. You didn't need that against the Bears. Anything was going to work against the Bears.
That's the 5 point.
5 yards. Well, so weird.
So running against a defense that's not going to work against? How does that make any sense? What you're arguing for here is exactly why the Bears now have competent coaching. Because they're not worried about overthinking things like that when you put your Midtown bracelet in your mouth, weirdo.
Hoge, that play was awesome. It was going to work against anyone. He said they worked on it over and over and over again. That was going to work against the best defense in the NFL last year. It would have worked against the Eagles, the Niners, whoever you want to name. It was a waste to use it against the Bears. He did it because he wanted to show Chicago to hire him. It wasn't about the team. It was about Ben. Ben did it for Ben.
Oh, shut up. I'm going to go to an ad break. That's ridiculous.
It's fine. He's here.
He's got plenty of other clubs in his bag for the other teams that they played. And that was evident too. Speaking of clubs, as we take our next ad break, the time has come for you to get new golf clubs. All right, Carm, it is that time. Get rid of that bag from the 1940s and all those actual woods that you have in there. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to head over to the local PXG store. There's one in Northbrook. It's very convenient for you, Carm. And they make the best golf clubs, period. That's where I went. I got fitted. It was a great experience. It was nice and easy. They got the club exactly how I needed it. And then I went out and I played golf with these guys in Arizona last fall, and I shot my best round of the year. And that's all a true story. The fastest way to improve your performance on the course is a PXG fitting. PXG fitters are highly trained, incredibly experienced. They have a deep understanding of how to optimize your clubs to get the most out of your swing. PXG fittings are educational and fun. Schedule your fitting today, and for a limited time, you could save up to 20% on your entire order. It's a big number for golf clubs there. Head over to pxg.com/CHGO. That's pxg.com/CHGO to save up to 20% on your entire order. pxg.com/CHGO. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
So I'm going to try to barge my way into this one. Shout out to our friends at Potawatomi Casino. The Cubs are headed to Milwaukee, and you could be too. Kick off the summer right with the CHGO Cubs crew. Cody's going, Luke's going, Corey's going. They're going to Milwaukee for the border battle. It's Friday, May 3rd at Potawatomi Casino and Hotel in Milwaukee. So what do you get? You got an exclusive pregame party in a private room at the casino. You get the live shows, hang with the crew, talk some baseball, talk about how the Cubs are going to win the World Series, all that. You get a buffet lunch and drink ticket to get the good times rolling. So you're going to eat, you're going to drink, you're going to live the dream. And if you're over 21, you get $100 in casino play with the Potawatomi Rewards card. Put it all on red, live the dream, do something along those lines. And then, you can grab a game ticket with the crew in the lower outfield, Cubs side, of course. It's Cubs everywhere up there. Brewers don't have any fans. Make it a weekend. You can add a one-night stay at Potawatomi for Saturday night, too, if you want to. Tickets and all the info, how do you do that? allchgo.com/event. These are going to go fast. Don't sleep on it. We're going up to Potawatomi. And, Friday, May 3rd. I want to go myself.
Yeah, I do too. Great spot. I'm going to. I gotta. That's just. It's very convenient. Very convenient to the game. We're actually. It's probably not the last time you're going to hear the word Cubs in the show because little tease. We got a. Adam Rank's not here today. He was unable to do the show. He's been doing rankings for the last few weeks, and so we thought we'd still do a ranking even so he's not here.
We do it in his honor. The guy's so unbelievably gracious with his time that we're now used to him being here on Fridays. That when he's not here, we got to do something to honor Adam Rank.
All right, a couple more clips I want to share with you before we move on, though. And we just played the Antwaan Randle for you. Another big name. See, here's what's interesting about the staff that I find, Carm. You brought in plenty of young guys that seemingly see the game, think about the game the same way as Ben Johnson. But you also brought in a bunch of older coaches that have a ton of experience, too. And also apparently see the game the same way. One of these guys that was, a big hire at the time, and it was good to talk to him yesterday because he's been a big name in the NFL coaching world for many, many years now, Super Bowls, head coaching interviews, never really has gotten his opportunity, and now he's here as the Bears running backs coach, and that's Eric Bieniemy. Here's what he had to say.
I'll say this. First and foremost, I have the utmost respect for Coach Johnson and what he's accomplished. First of all, they had a great deal of success. He's done it the right way. And I mean, they've had some hard times, but he stayed true to his vision. And the beauty of it is that he has a vision, and more than anything, he just wants to make sure that we can collectively put it all together. And so right now, that's the biggest thing as a coaching staff that we're working on, is making sure that we can all speak the same language. We're all doing a great job of over-communicating clarity to our players, and then we get the very best from our players. But the thing I appreciate him is that Coach Johnson brings an energy every single day, all right? And you can see the competitor in him, which you love it because you know, the players are going to feed off that. Our coaching staff is feeding off that. And then there's an expectation. So, like you've heard me say this, we want our players to be at their best when their best is needed. But you know what? As a coaching staff, we got to always be on our toes and be at our best, because our best will always be needed. And so we got to make sure that we're continuing to chop this wood and making sure that we're basically learning all the right things. But on top of that, we're also seeing the vision in which he wants for this team, and that's making sure we're getting the right people in this building and directing them in the right way.
I'm ready to go, Carm. I mean, when's the first game? When's the schedule come out? When can we? I mean, I'm very impressed with this coaching staff.
Yeah, so it is fitting that you're wearing your caramel sweatshirt today, because you know all the words that Eric Bieniemy just said. You have to be at your best daily for your kids, for your students, for your elite professional athletes when Hoge gets to that level and becomes a coach on the Chicago Bears. Probably 3 or 4 years away at this point. But with Eric, for me, I was wondering about his energy. Because this, you know, how you teed that up, this is a guy that interviewed to be a head coach, and he is now the running backs coach. So, and he's been a coordinator. So I was just wondering, do you want to do this job? Do you come across as somebody who wants to do the job? And he certainly sounded like somebody who wants to do this job. Every bit about that. Big smile on his face and accountability, the whole thing. So it was good to see him. It actually made me feel comfortable that he's going to do a great job for the Bears.
Another one, too, that we're going to sneak in here real quick. Al Harris was another big hire on the defensive side of the ball, so we're going to flip the defense. We talked a little bit earlier about Dennis Allen, about how this idea of, you know, being trench drunk can lead to more stress on the back end. But I thought it was interesting talking to Dennis Allen. Dennis Allen's never worked with Al Harris. Dennis Allen said, yeah, but the thing about Al Harris that I knew, if you just look at the stats, you see who's been leading the league in interceptions a lot. Oh, happens to be the Dallas Cowboys secondary. Over and over and over again. They have the most interceptions over the last 4 seasons as far as the defensive backs group. All that under Al Harris, who preaches it's not just about takeaways, it's about touching the football. I asked him what Jalen Johnson can still do to reach even another level. This is what he said.
We got to touch the football more. You know, that's what you're judged by on the outside lanes. Who's touching the football, and if you're not touching the football, they're not throwing the ball to your guy, because if they do, you got a good chance of getting the ball. So I think all in all, as a secondary, we got to touch the football more. We gotta beat after the football, whether it's run or pass. We got to touch the football.
So when I see, at least what I know from what DA's run in the past, it feels like the scheme would fit that skill for Jalen Johnson to touch the ball. Do you guys feel that way? At least help maximize that?
Yes, I think the scheme that DA run is great, and it will. Puts a lot of pressure on us as a secondary, but that's any scheme does. You know what I mean? Your secondary players. But it will allow our guys to touch the football. And like I said earlier, it's the mindset that we put to our guys. You know what I mean? The culture that we set, you know, because like I said, everybody has a good scheme. Every single team in this league has a good scheme. But how do you play in that scheme? What are my keys in that particular scheme that'll allow me to get to the football?
So there it is, Carm. His DBs over the last 4 years, 72 total interceptions, most in the NFL.
So a lot of little tidbits in there that I liked. One, in this scheme, which just tells you that Al is expecting Dennis Allen to be awful aggressive, sending guys to get to the quarterback. It's going to put pressure on that secondary, but hopefully they'll be up to the task. Two, he just kind of simplified a part of the hits philosophy, not to get the flus in here today, but we need to touch the ball. Touch ball. Everybody likes to touch the ball. Let's touch the ball. Let's get some ball touches going on here, because that's what they're paid to do, man. Get your hands on that football. Let's go. I know it's a Friday. Hopefully everybody's getting some their own form of touching of whatever they want to touch this weekend. How's that? So it sounds to me like they're going to be awful aggressive, and it sounds to me like Jalen's going to get an opportunity to maybe have a career high in interceptions this year. We'll see if he can do it.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it. Well, it is a Friday, and you know what's great on a Friday?
What's that, Adam?
That would be Sam Adams American Light. Introducing Sam Adams American Light. Clean, crisp, super easy to drink. Light beer just got better, Carm. No gimmicks, no fluff. Sam Adams American Light is not your average light beer. It's brewed with 100% American-sourced ingredients from local independent farmers. Light beer that's made right, because light beer should never feel like a compromise. It's nice out today. I think when we're done with this show, I'm going to go outside. Got a couple of the Sam Adams American Lights in my fridge out there, and I think I'm going to enjoy the rest of this Friday. It's an American classic, so smooth you'll want to crack open another one, because it's always Sam season. Light beer just got better. Grab some Sam Adams American Light, available now at select Chicago retailers. Must be 21. Please drink responsibly.
And shout out to our friends at Cornbread Hemp. A lot going on in the world nowadays. CBD gummies, you know what they can help you do? They can help you unwind. They can help you feel a whole lot better. Cornbread Hemp CBD gummies, the natural way to relieve aches and discomfort. They're formulated to work with your body, not against it. We're all getting older here. But if you want to maintain your physical and your mental wellness, Cornbread Hemp CBD gummies, huge piece of your wellness plan, or at least they are of mine. Nice and easy way to wind down on your day. If you tried everything under the sun for peace of mind and haven't tried this, then go get it. Cornbread Hemp's CBD gummies, organic, vegan, gluten-free, the good stuff. And right now they're offering CHGO listeners 30% off your first order. Just visit cornbreadhemp.com/CHGO. Use that promo code CHGO at checkout. cornbreadhemp.com/CHGO. Use that code CHGO. 30% off your first order. This is the good life.
True story about cornbread. Off the air, we were talking about this, but I turned 39 the other day and immediately woke up with a giant neck pain. I did go to the chiropractor, but the cornbread hemp, the balm that you could put on there, been using that. Definitely helping. I'm being serious. Definitely helping. Loosen it up a little bit, because my muscles are all super tight right now.
Myself, if shouting out Cornbread Hemp, a little bit of anxiety lately going to bed. Bang. You put the CBD. I don't have a whole lot of trouble falling asleep. You might know that, Hoge, but 10 minutes. See you later. Cornbread Hemp, my man.
Put you in the combine. In the stands, out cold. If you're ever having trouble sleeping, Carm knows that's the remedy.
Get me to Lucas Oil or anywhere that Greg Braggs is speaking. I know you're watching, Greggy. You are my Cornbread Hemp, Greg Braggs THC, CBD.
Okay.
Get back on track.
I'm going to try to. He's at the Cubs game, and we're actually going to have a little bit
of... He's hanging out.
Yeah, I don't know how he does that. Is he in the stands at Wrigley right now?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't care. All right. Thought we'd have this conversation with the Bulls and the Blackhawks season ending. We just hyped you up on the Bears coaching staff for about 48 minutes. Cubs in first place-ish. I mean, they are, but...
They are?
They are. I checked it this morning.
Yeah. Okay.
In the Central, they are. Just thought it'd be a good time to figure out where the Bears would rank among the professional sports team in this town. And yes, we're going beyond the big five, as you might call them, because we do have the sky, we do have the fire, we do have the stars. In terms of where teams rank the best position right now, where they're at to eventually win a championship. Adam Rank does a list every week. He's not here. So I thought I'd put together this list for you, and Carm's going to yell at me a bunch. But the whole point of this exercise, as it has to do with the Chicago Bears, is I definitely think you can make an argument that the Bears are in position, the best position to win a championship among all of Chicago sports teams. Now, that being said, I debated 1 and 2 very, very closely, very hard. I think Carm disagrees with me on this one. I am actually going with the Chicago Cubs. My argument isn't that profound. I definitely think you can argue that the Bears should be number one. But the reality is, I don't think this Cubs team is phenomenal. I would say it's unlikely they win the World Series this year, but I do think they're good enough to win the division, and they should win the division. And in baseball, you get in the dance, you have a chance. So I can't rule out the possibility of the Cubs winning a World Series this fall. And that's why I put them number one over the Bears. Now, if you want to come at me and say, well, can you rule out the Bears winning a Super Bowl this year? I guess not. I personally wouldn't go that far. I would say the Cubs have a higher chance than the Bears do this year, which is why I'm putting the Cubs number one and the Bears number two. But, and the other thing too is, as much as I believe in this quarterback, and I do, Caleb Williams, I need to see that jump first before I go all in. I'm like, the Bears are in the best chance, without a doubt, to win the Super Bowl.
So I'm not going to push back too hard here. And I definitely agree that this year, Cubs versus Bears, I would go Cubs. By the way, Craig Leach with a $100 super chat on a Friday. Thank you so much, Craig. We missed you.
That's awesome.
Carm, you're always a cynical meatball. Shout out to Braggs in the stands. Have a few on me. Northwest Indiana repping there. And then Braggs, $5 back at Craig. $5 for Oscar. I'm not exactly sure who Oscar is. I thought it was Craig. Oh, there we go. Oscar Styles, Braggs, $2. Bro, you don't bricklay anymore. Ha ha. Hey.
he just got guilt tripped into spending more money on his own company's super chat.
You should spend more money on Craig, Gregory, if you're just throwing it around today because you're drunk at 12:52, 30 minutes to game time. Congratulations.
Almost sounds like Craig's with him.
Yeah, Craig, thanks, man. Super nice of you. Look, I grew up a Cub fan, Hoge. All right, 1984 was my first Cubs sports catastrophe that I didn't recover from until 2016. I mean, they just piled on and added 03 and everything else in there. But I just heard the reason why I bring that up is because, you get in, you got a chance. Nah. You had a very small chance. You need to be the best team. And even if you're the best team, you might need a miracle like a rain delay and 17 minutes of Jason Hayward. The Cubs were awesome in 2016, and they barely squeaked by and won it. So I just don't think there's the upper end talent there. Whereas the Bears, if Caleb hits, if Rome hits, if they get, luck themselves into an Ashton Genty this year, regardless, I just think if I had to bet on who's going to get there between the Cubs and the Bears right now, I'd take the Bears. I would. Okay. And it's not because I'm biased that we're doing a Bears podcast. I just think I'm not this Cubs team until they show they actually will spend with the big boys and be an all-in franchise. I'm not there. Although hopefully Kyle Tucker will come around. So anyway, I'll take the Bears one right now, which is not a great statement on Chicago for the record.
No, this really isn't. But I am sensing a little bit of hope. I hope so, because it's been a rough go since CHGO launched one playoff series. It's not good. All right. Number 3 on my list. Aki Hoge coming in here. I am in on the Chicago Blackhawks. I am. if you paid attention to the season, they're about to hire a new coach too. Please give me David Carl. I love that idea from the University of Denver. If they manage to land him, you got the youth movement that came along. You're starting to see real signs with your own eyes of these young kids coming up. I think the Blackhawks, it's not going to happen next year. Probably still 2 seasons away from legitimately competing at least, but I do think that they are in a really good shape going forward, Carm, to get back to where the Hawks were. I'm not promising 3 Stanley Cups, obviously. That was a tremendous run, but at least get back in that competitive window. And, I mean, between Connor Bedard, Frank Nazar all of a sudden is up there like, hey, I'm really good too. There's a whole list of them. Artem Lashunov, Sam Renzel, goes on and on and on. I love it.
Yeah, I don't know who any of those people are, but Hoge, listen, I hope this is not talking out of turn, but Hoge's putting his money where his mouth is. Dude was a season ticket holder this year, got terrible value on his seats, thought about downsizing, looked at every seat of the entire United Center, and then was like, actually, I'll just get better seats because I love this team so much and I believe in it. So you are a hockey Hoge, money where your mouth is, dude. You're all in. I mean, your family loves it too, and it's Krista and James and Livy. Everyone's living the dream here. So, but it's not just saying it on the CHGO Bears podcast. You believe in this Blackhawks team.
I do. I think they're coming. I think it's going to be fun, and I really hope they get David Carl. That's the guy. That's the coach I want. We'll go through the rest of this list. Look, I'm not going to pretend to be a Sky expert or a Chicago Fire expert or a Chicago Stars expert, but I am going to say that those 3 got to be ahead of the Bulls and the White Sox. And I do know a little bit more about the Sky than I do the Fire and the Stars. And obviously drafting Haley Van Lith the other day, adding that to Angel Reese and Camila Cardosa, they're talking to my friend Carly Bell, does a tremendous job covering the Sky. She thinks that they can be a playoff team this year. There's not a lot of teams in the league. I wouldn't know how competitive they could actually be once they get in the playoffs, but they should be better than last year, and you got to like the draft picks that they've made the last couple of years. And by the way, I don't know if you've been paying attention to the Fire. I haven't, other than the standings. They're competitive now.
Yeah, the Fire don't get talked about at all because the Fire have been so bad for so long.
Like horrible.
So the fact that they're ahead of the Bulls and the White Sox speaks to the Bulls and the White Sox. And I think it's just funny that you might as well have thrown in Northwestern football, Northwestern basketball, UIC hoops ahead of everybody else here because that's how far down the list the Bulls and Hawks are, or the Bulls and Sox are right now. But me and my guy Carm Sweet Bippy, I think the Bulls between Buzelis, Kobe, Gideon, and Kevin Huerter, I think are in a decent spot. Kevin Herter.
Kevin Herter.
Kevin Herter. Right, I knew that. I think we're in a decent spot with young talent. Need a big man, strong depth. They got to hit on their draft pick here, Sweet Bippy. If they do that, and Buzelis keeps coming on, I'm actually with you on that. It's at least a little bit more exciting on both sides of the United Center right now. As for the White Sox, this is the worst team that's ever played baseball, and going for back-to-back years, now sitting at 4-14. But at least they got a manager in there who's got some credibility in Will Venable. So, and I am one of the few, but I do believe in Chris Getz. I like Chris Getz. I think he's a smart guy. I think if given time, he will get them there. But that is one of the biggest leaps I've ever taken on this show. So, it's where they are right now. How could you ever forecast that either of those teams will literally ever win one in the rest of our lifetime? Hopefully that'll change.
Apocalyptic Roar says he'd love to see Hoge join Jay and Mario on the Blackhawks coverage sometime when they hire a new head coach. Hey, if they want me, I'd love to. Steven produced their show yesterday or 2 days ago. Was that? I was listening. Steven had hockey thoughts on the show.
Yeah.
I'll start pushing it daily. You need on there. You are Mr. Hockey right now. They could sneak you in for one show.
Well, in the middle of the summer when things are slow, I'd be happy to jump in. But I don't want to intrude by any means. Hey, real quick, want to make sure everybody knows, become a diehard. CHGO diehards. I mean, really the best time right now is now, not only because of all the content coming your way, but also because of the price. $3 a month right now. We got a sale going on through the draft. Hit that QR code right in front of you if you're watching on YouTube. Otherwise, go to allchgo.com/intro is where you get that intro offer. Get the draft guide, Bears 100, my newsletter. It's all in there. Now's the time to be a diehard.
That's for all.
Plus, you get discounted draft party tickets too if you are a diehard.
That's right, and that is for everybody who's coming to the draft party and everyone's been a diehard. Special Carmonica for you, April 24th, 25th, 6 to 10. Come out for round 1. Come out for round 2 and 3. Come out for all 3. Go back-to-back nights. Be a true diehard. Circus Sports Illinois making it possible. allchgo.com/events to sign on up for the draft party.
Real quick, I do want to explain myself on the last 2 though, because I don't want to. The Bulls were tough for me, Carm. I actually agree with a lot of those comments that were just popping up on the screen, and I'm super high on Modest Buzelis. We got an argument off the air last week, and I'm doubling down on that take because I'm not sure I've shared that take publicly, but I believe that Modest Buzelis has the highest ceiling of any Bulls player since Derrick Rose.
Yeah, Hoge basically compared Buzelis in this private conversation to Kevin Durant in his prime. He was going way over the top, but
that never happened.
That's what happened. It was close. I don't
think I've ever mentioned Kevin Durant.
Well, okay, maybe in my head. I just saw a long, lengthy dude who could just impact the game in many ways, which is KD's obviously more just pure scorer, but a little bit of an underrated rim protector, KD, when he was in his prime. But anyway, point being, I agree with you as far as how the highest ceiling going. You're right.
I just think to legitimately win a championship, though, they need to luck out and somehow win the lottery. And that's not a plan. Like they could, and you said this off the air too, and it was a good counter argument. If they hit on another Modest in the draft this year, shout out to them. They did make that pick last year, and he shouldn't have fallen as far as he did. I like Giddey. I like Kobe White. I also thought it was extremely alarming if you watched that game the other night when all of a sudden the team was actually playing extremely hard. 4 quarters, like we have to win to keep our season alive, and we're not going to let you just run up and down the court the entire time. And all of a sudden, these guys look like they didn't know how to play basketball. Patrick Williams contract's ridiculous. I can't. That's what's so frustrating about. No, it is because they keep giving away dumb contracts to guys that don't deserve it. Zach LaVine had a knee injury and they paid him. It's stupid.
You talking about Zach LaVine? You talking about the point guard who they extended?
I'm not talking about Lonzo. I'm talking about when they gave Zach LaVine his last contract, he was hurt.
Yeah, well, I thought it was even crazier if we're going down Bulls Road here. You gave Lonzo Ball 2 more years after he played 10 games for you in 4 years. You wanted to make a bet because he's been on the court for 5 seconds. And then, of course, he's sat out the final however many games. You gave him more money. The Patrick Williams thing was completely ridiculous. That guy is nicest guy ever. Can't play. The Vooch, extending Vooch another 3 years was completely ridiculous. The next time, Arturas, he's had some that have hit. Alex Caruso was good. Buzelis was good. I'll give him at least some level of credit for, paying Kobe White and paying Io and keeping him around when maybe others would have let him go. That's worked out, but yeah, it ain't great.
Look, if this was a list of which teams can get to good competitive status, I'd have the Bulls higher. I just think that the chance of them adding what they really need to add to get over the hump to be a realistic NBA Finals contender is they're either going to have to get extremely lucky or completely change what they've been doing here. And maybe they have, because I do like what they've done in the last few months, but that's a big leap. And then real quickly, because I knew people were going to put this in the comments, Jimmy Butler. I'm not saying that I'm not even saying that Modest Buzelis will be better than Jimmy Butler. I do think he has a higher ceiling. I think, and that's what I said. I think he has a higher ceiling. Remember, Jimmy Butler barely played his first year and was a later draft pick who tremendously overachieved. But I think when you actually look at Modest, his size, his length, how he can move on the court and dunk and all that, I don't even think it's close. I think his ceiling is definitely higher. I'm not saying he'll get there. I'm saying the possibilities are his development. And even if you just look at his development throughout this season, it's been tremendous.
Yeah, this was another off air and all the people yelling Jimmy Butler. I yelled at Hoge the same way here. But I don't think that Buzelis is he going to lead a team to an NBA Finals? Is he going to be dynamic on both ends of the court? Is he going to hit big time shots like Jimmy hit? I mean, it'd be a huge level to get to. However, if you're just talking ceiling, if we're trying to get to Hoge's side of the street here and see where he's coming from, Buzelis is bigger. He is. Look what he was doing in the playing game. Everybody was afraid to shoot the basketball. They were giving it to him. He's going to the hole. He's finishing with the left hand. He's shooting a huge three to end a quarter. He's making plays. This kid's 19 years old, and he's a physical freak. If he actually fills out, he could be an enormous freaking problem. So if he really touched it to where he could get to, he can shoot the three, he can get to the bucket, he's dunking on people, driving down the baseline, throwing two hands down and staring people down at 19. I mean, think about what he looks like when he's filled out at 25. He could be a big time problem.
Yeah. So anyway, you don't have to agree with the argument. I think other than Derrick Rose, Modest has the highest ceiling. So I am excited about him. And then the White Sox, a good question from Eric Beauchamp in there. If Reinsdorf sold the team with the White Sox a vault higher, yes, because that is exactly why I still have them 8th. I like what they've done. I somewhat agree with. I don't know if I'm that high on Chris Getz as Carm is, but I like the manager. I like the GM. I like what they're doing. Number 3 farm system. There's a lot of reasons if White Sox fans were mad that I put them 8th here, that they're yelling at me, they'd have a good chance. I've seen this play out before. They went through a rebuild. They got all the prospects. They all got to the point where they were in the league. The team was good and went to the playoffs. And then they hired Tony La Russa. And you know who still works with the White Sox? Tony La Russa. Because you know who still owns the White Sox? Jerry Reinsdorf. And until that whole thing is gone, I don't trust them. I just don't trust them. The GM can do his job as well as he wants to, and all these prospects can come up. But when it comes to getting over the hump, which, by the way, involves spending more money than Andrew Benintendi being the highest free agent in the history of your organization. So until we see that change in this era of baseball, which is not the same era as 2005, when everybody had a career year all in the same year and they sort of just lucked into it, sorry. I like what they're doing in the rebuild. I got no faith that it's going to lead to a World Series.
Also so hard. Baseball's so hard to win. In addition to everything else you just said, correct. I don't want to go down Reinsdorf Road because it just takes me right to 1998 or to the pandemic and The Last Dance, and just listening to that guy talk about, we just didn't think that they could win it again, so it was time to tear down the team, as if you had a better plan. They've been to the Eastern Conference Finals once in now, 25 years, have won one game.
It's surprising he didn't hire Tony La Russa then.
Yeah, right. Well, you're right.
To run the Bulls.
Yeah, that would have been a good idea. I would have rather he did that than leave Jerry Krause in there. That's a whole nother story for another time. And listen, the ridiculousness of the way they think is the most upsetting thing that's ever happened to me as a sports fan in this city. And I thank him for the 6 rings that he had nothing to do with. Yeah, I said that. Michael doesn't show up here.
The whole point of this, though, is we obviously went off the Bears a little bit there, is that the Bears are in good shape. I think, honestly, you might have talked me into the fact that the Bears should be higher than the Cubs.
Tom Ricketts, act like you want to win. What's going on over there?
Well, they should listen to those 2 crazy people in the bleachers right now with the signs that say extend Tucker. Would that make
that would be a step in the right direction, a big step in the right direction. Listen to Greg Braggs always. It's a great idea. I think he's got to have logged off by now so I can say that and he won't hear it. All right, Hoge.
Yep.
We're signifying the final harmonica of this Friday show.
You know, you joke about having some type of solo harmonica performance, but do we forget that you actually did sing on stage last year with an actual band on Friday night of the draft party?
I did. Those were my people.
That you can't remember.
No, I can. I'm just not remembering. They're from Boston.
Was it like Buffalo Joe or something like that?
No. Dalton and the Sheriffs. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Dalton and the Sheriffs, my guys. They invited me on stage. We had them on the show. That was awesome.
Carm actually went on stage with them and sang. It was pretty awesome. I gotta tell you. All right. I don't know that we have a lot of snidbits today, but shout out to Carm for his musical talents that don't really exist, but somehow make the show regularly. Let's get to super chats. Seems like we had a lot of them today. Some we already acknowledged. Oscar Styles, $10. The way Ben talks about Warren, who can't block, makes me very nervous about him. I feel like there's too much hype. Oh, Tyler Warren.
Yeah, but there's a lot of talk about tight ends, man. Oscar, I wouldn't rule out that happening. If he's there and Genty's gone, I know there's been a lot of O-line talk as well, but it would not surprise me if they went Tyler Warren at all.
I think that's unfair to say he can't block too. And I think most of these dynamic tight ends that come in the league, they're not dynamic blockers. They're out there to run routes and move the football, catch the football, and Tyler Warren's a football player. Louis DeFilippe, I don't know, $2 because it worked for Green Bay against the Bears.
Okay,
that's in reference.
We're talking about he's talking about the stumble bum.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Louis also said $2. Johnson has literally said this many times.
Louis, if you're still here, it wasn't a real haze on Ben Johnson. Relax. It's okay. He also didn't need to use it against the Bears because anything would have worked against the Bears.
It's hard to tell.
Oh, come on.
Dalton Peterson, $5. Hey, guys.
Dalton and the Sheriffs, my guy.
There he is. Hey, guys, dedicated pod listener, so I don't get to comment too often. Carm, every time you call Dennis Allen DA, I cannot help it here, dumbass.
Already?
Carm didn't even know he was DA until like 3 days ago.
Maybe that's why I was the dumbass, perhaps. DA is gonna be awesome.
Coach.
Yeah, he's gonna get it done. Come on, buddy, we need you.
Bragg's in the stands with his best super chat ever, $10, $10 for Cram to shut up.
I'm just making the company money every second over here. Thank you, Greg. Appreciate it.
Guy Finley, $20. $20 super from Guy today. I get the attraction of the shiny toy, but have we learned nothing after last year? The Bears cannot go into the season with the current options at left tackle. They need to draft Banks or Campbell at 10. Elite tackles go top 10. I'm with you, Guy. We're falling into the same trap.
Hey, Guy, my guy. Love you, Guy. If Will Campbell's gone, which he's expected to be, you think that Banks is a starting left tackle right now? You sure about that? You think he is, Hoge?
Yeah, you should. You weren't on the show the other day. We had a big rant about this, and it's
okay.
Good plug for our Twitter account. Go check out @CHGO_Bears because our guy Steven put together a really nice clip of that argument.
Okay.
Yes, in short, I think he could play left tackle. Pizzatola, $2. The Sox are the one thing worse than Carman. Wow,
Thank you, Pizzy.
You're better than the Sox.
Yeah.
That's the nicest thing he's ever said to you.
I think it is. It's a promotion for me in the Pizzatola land. Pizzatola, by the way, 6 days to Pizzatola. He's coming out to the draft party.
Michael McCoy, $5. Curious what you think about Chris Canty's take on a Caleb's Esquire article, Hoge. Full disclosure, Michael, I appreciate the super chat. I have no idea what Chris Canty's take is. Did I miss that? Was I supposed to know what that is?
Steven, do you know? Because I don't.
I know he called him like a celebrity. He's becoming a celebrity quarterback, but I didn't watch the full clip. Also, okay. It appears someone is breaking in here.
And you cowards.
Oh, it was a very laggy Friday 120 club from the looks of
Did
it.
we learn nothing from the voicemail he left Carm at the Blackhawks game?
We should play that on the show someday. It'll help me.
I think when Braggs is actually in the stands, the last thing we should do is go to Braggs in the stands.
And I mean, that does look like a tough gig. I understand his whole point. That's way to go. That was Emma, by the way, our outstanding social media superstar, hanging out with him. So at least the fans might be having fun because Emma's there.
Exactly. Yeah! Let's go! Friday 120! Woo! CHGO Bears! We're working hard! We are working so hard right now.
I've never worked harder in my entire career. Thank you, Craig Leach. We are working hard here in the bleachers. Thank you very much.
Having a great time.
Give this guy a shout out here. This is the guy right here, big fan of the show here. Come on now.
Come on. All right. We're at Wrigley.
Let's go!
They had to show the field to confirm that they were actually at Wrigley Field. We get it. That's why we.
It wasn't obvious enough.
I'm really happy they're having a great time. And
Okay.
They seem to like each other.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen on this show.
Smack him says Bragg's the hardest working man at CHGO.
Indeed he is.
Just ask him.
This is a tough gig.
This is not hate, by the way, at all. It is. I mean it when I say it is the most genius execution of a sports media idea in the history of Chicago sports media.
Yeah, no, they're doing a great job. I'm sure
And the Cubs fans love them. So,
Yeah.
And congrats on them having a good team in this town. Good-ish team. All right. Anyway, the point of this pod was to feel good about your Bears going into the weekend. Competent coaching staff, reasons to be excited, either one or two among Chicago sports teams that realistically can win a championship somewhat soon. I think I'm changing my answer. I think I'm Bears, Blackhawks, Cubs now, Carm. Once we talk that out.
I'm allowing that. That's fair. You're allowed to have, you can pivot.
Yeah, Bears, Blackhawks, Cubs. All right, we're out of here. It's been a fun week of coverage. Important note, we are going to be dark on Monday. There will not be a podcast on Monday. That has to do with the fact that we got the draft going through the weekend next weekend. So there's going to be a ton coming your way. So we will be back Tuesday with a special 1 p.m. Central showtime because Ryan Poles and Ian Cunningham will be speaking in the media at Halas Hall on Tuesday for the pre-draft press conference. So the next time we come to you will be Tuesday, covering that press conference, bringing our reaction to that. That'll be Tuesday. So don't be surprised Monday when there is not a podcast in your feed. Thanks to Steven producing. Thanks to Braggs for his live report from Wrigley. Carm, nice show. Good job by you.
Good work, Adam Hoge. Happy birthday week to you one more time. And yes, next week is here. So gear up, baby. It's going to be a huge week for the Chicago Bears that will hopefully land them in the Super Bowl sometime in our lifetime. That's the plan, damn it.
I hope so. Good message going in the weekend. Everybody, thanks for watching, listening. We'll talk to you on Tuesday. Next week, it's draft week. It's finally here.
We all city like the mayor.